Okay, so joined today by Sean Wolrige out of our Sydney office. How are you, Sean?
Good, thank you today, Drew. How are you?
Good. Sean, thanks for coming on, talking about how to sell businesses. Today, I wanted to rack your brain on how to sell a surveying business. I know you've come across that in the past. Are you happy to have a quick chat about that, mate?
Love to. Yeah, happy to share my experiences and some pointers as well too.
So if I've got a surveying business I'm looking at selling, what are some of the main issues? What are some of the main challenges? What should I know before I go to market? Is there anything I can do there? What do we need to discuss?
Yeah, so one of the first things, I wouldn't leave it too late. You know, a lot of these practices are owned by owners who, certainly hold on to them for a very long time and look to retire and to sell, to move into retirement. But, you can leave the sale too late, but owners need to be aware of the timing of not only the preparation but the transaction itself, and then also the post transition that's required by a seller as well too. So that's something that's really important. So I wouldn't be leaving it too far past the age of 60, because again, that timeline for sale can be anywhere up to 3 to 5 years beyond the thought of actually going to market. I would also too look at my business and make sure that I've got it doesn't just rely upon myself as the owner. It's important that all the relationships aren't with you, that you've got good systems and processes in place, that you've got management ideally involved in the business as well, because the buyer is going to be looking at who's going to run this business after the owner eventually leaves. Even if it's 3 to 5 years down the track, who is going to be running this business? And the biggest challenge in the surveying industry is certainly the lack of resources. So that is one of the reasons buyers are looking to acquire surveying practices, because there's plenty of opportunities out there, there's plenty of work out there. They just don't have the resources to service the work. So acquiring a surveying company is about buying the people and making sure you've got good people involved, and that they're tied into the business and going to transfer with the business as well too. So they're, I guess, some of the key issues with selling a surveying practice.
I was going to ask, have you found, I've found in other industries prior to going to the market, some owners really do some great agreements with senior management, put them on like a profit share arrangement, or put them on a shareholding, like I might have a small shareholding, but really secure that key management team prior to going to the market, which makes it then easy for somebody to come in and, without all the worries and them bailing, it makes it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you can do to help tie in those key staff into the business, and hopefully they want to transfer their equity across to the purchaser and stay invested in the business and see upside with a purchaser that can help significantly grow the business as well too. So purchaser certainly wants to see key staff have some skin in the game and remain with the business. And because in the surveying industry, as I said, resource challenge, there's a lot of companies out there that are unfortunately poaching staff, and it is driven by the dollar. So if there's other ways that you can retain your staff and keep them securely in the company and transferred as part of the sale, I think that's a positive.
Okay, and let's talk about buyers for a minute. I mean, it's a pretty niche industry, surveying. I'm assuming buyers are more industry buyers from other bigger firms acquiring small firms, or
absolutely. You can't be outside of the industry really to acquire a surveying practice. It needs to be bought by another surveying practice or a related business such as engineering or town planning or environmental services. So they'll acquire a surveying practice because they want to have that kind of one-stop shop company where they can offer the full suite of services to their clients without them having to go elsewhere. But there's lots of reasons that they'll buy, not only for additional services, but to get interstate expansion as well too, or possibly to expand within their local market. But it is going to be a strategic buyer, and they're going to be looking at it as a strategic acquisition. And predominantly, as I said, it's for the staff and those resources that they're looking to acquire. So I have seen for certain firms, international companies who are looking to get a footprint, into the local market here, basically wanting to get the relationships and contacts that some of these businesses have, and important for an international company to have a local presence and local management involved. So management staying on again would be really important. But yeah, absolutely, it's not going to be a financial or buyer or private equity. There are a few public companies in this space, but they haven't done particularly well. It's generally going to be a large private company who's looking to acquire for a vast array of different reasons.
Okay, so that's interesting. So buyers can be industry looking to do like a horizontal acquisition, so other surveying companies looking to buy surveying companies, or it could be a vertical acquisition whereby somebody not necessarily in surveying but with a business linked to that in planning or other sorts of things can acquire it as a bolt-on.
Absolutely. We've just seen a big US company that's in real estate and property development who is looking to acquire a surveying company to do a lot of their private client work, and struggled to be able to get surveyors because again of the shortage. So they bought their own surveying company basically to service their own client base without having to rely upon external contractors as such. So but then, as said, planning, engineering, it is a complementary service, and it allows the ability to offer your clients that full suite of services, so the client stays in-house rather than going to another firm to seek that other service.
One thing makes me think about, and it's applicable to a lot of industries, and I'm wondering if it's applicable to surveying as well, is when you're talking to buyers, do they dig down into, does the firm have one large customer, a regional council or something supplying a bulk of the work, or is it a number of small private customers? Is that something that buyers look at in surveying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is across a range of different industries. Looking at dependencies and client dependency is certainly one area to focus on. Majority of my surveying clients and sellers have got a fairly diverse range of clients. But I have had one recently where there is a huge dependency on a very large property developer, probably the nation's largest property developer, which makes up 70% of their actual total revenue. So it's, on one hand, it's a great asset and a great relationship to have, and there's a lot of contracts and projects in place there, but ultimately there's a lot of risk associated with that as well too, and it's something that the buyer certainly needs to be mindful of on how to structure the deal, to ensure that if that client does leave, that they're not going to be the ones paying for it at the end of the day.
Cool. And lastly, I just wanted to touch on location, regionality. Are you finding more demand for surveying firms in capital centres, or regional firms still in demand? What's that like?
Yeah, both, to be honest. I've represented a number of regional ones, and certainly in regional growth centres, here in New South Wales, there's a number of those, both north, west and south of Sydney, and companies are certainly looking to expand into those areas where it's possibly it's more of a closed shop, and it's very hard for outside companies to come in and gain market share. So to acquire a firm in that region allows you automatically to get a step in the door in those markets. So
I imagine difficult to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's very difficult, and there's been a number of companies who have tried and set up satellite offices and just can't get local staff, and they will generally leave fairly quickly. And then you see interstate companies who are certainly looking to move into other capital cities, and Sydney is obviously, in New South Wales, a very strong market, and there's a lot of growth happening, certainly in Greater Western Sydney. But even infrastructure, residential, there's a lot of growth in Sydney, and for the bigger companies, they certainly want to have a strong presence in the biggest market in Australia.
Cool. So look, anyone out there looking to sell a surveying firm, or even looking to do some planning, if it's a firm you think you may look to sell even in the next 5 years, I'm sure, Sean, you'd be happy to have a chat about some structure, some different issues, work that through with them, and help create.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've sold many surveying practices. I've got a great buyer network. I understand how these businesses are transacted. can certainly give good advice and help them get an optimal outcome, whatever that might be.
Fantastic, Sean. Look, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing that knowledge with us. If you are out there and you're looking to get in contact with Sean, Sean's details are on our website on morganbusinesssales.com. Thank you so much, Sean, for coming in today, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
No problems at all, Drew. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, mate. Bye.